Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Enigmatica 6 Expert. So since the last episode, I have mainly been doing a little bit of planning here for the floors, and a little bit of decorating work, but primarily doing a little bit of automation related stuff. A couple things of note. I had mentioned a few episodes back about tanks disappearing from these. Buckets are also disappearing. So I actually removed my fluid system from this, actually wasted a little bit of plastic in the process, trying to figure out exactly what was causing the buckets to disappear. Never exactly figured it out. It doesn't seem completely just tied to server restarts, it's just they disappear periodically. So that was a little bit problematic. So I ended up, as far as storing fluids, they're fine. But I don't know if it's them or if it's XNet. Moving the stuff over, it could be XNet, honestly. Or it could be the fact that we're using the entangled blocks. I don't know. But whenever they shift, well, actually, it's not the entangled blocks. I know that. Because when we send stuff over to make our etching acid buckets, they would vanish sometimes too. So I don't know. Um, it's something. It's either XNet or it's the tanks themselves. But for some reason, they were causing the buckets and the tanks to randomly vanish and be just completely obliterated off the face of the earth. Like they don't exist. So I ended up changing things over to just fluid encapsulators here, and that seems to be doing the trick. They're not vanishing. I'm not having any issues with these. So the buckets go over here. It's set up identical. This one handles the plastic generation over there. This one handles etching acid, which long term, this will get changed over. Instead of doing plastic, it'll do just straight etching acid whenever we set up bees for the etching acid. But at the moment, we still make etching acid through the pressurized chambers there. Now I can order LV capacitors without a care in the world. I also did add an extension to the LV capacitor crafting since those buckets don't stack. I did just include a diamond chest and routed things through that diamond chest and have this automatically push out to that diamond chest. That way it clears out the buckets, it clears out the capacitors, and it can stock more etching acid because I was ordering a bit of LV capacitors, Started at the back end of the last episode, and that's when I started thinking, well, we need to address this problem of the vanishing buckets, and I think I've gotten that sorted. But I did make a few more energizing rods. One thing I did notice is if we take a look over here, we actually get 2 energizing rods just for getting to and having an energizing orb. I didn't notice that until after the last episode. That would have came in handy. But let's go ahead. Okay, this thing does not like books or spells. Alright, so that'll complete that quest for us. And that way we can get the 2 free energizing rods, which we may come back to later this episode. But before we do that, we got some other stuff I want to tackle first. And then there's a few quests here. We're going to get, like over here, Powah loot box. There's some loot boxes in here, which we'll start getting our hands on those. I don't know what they will contain, but it's liable to be something useful. Also, in preparation for our Powah stuff, I did just go ahead and order a stack of the basic capacitors. I did also set up a recipe for floral fertilizer as well. And actually, the recipe that I set up, I do want to make mention of that real quick. The recipe that I have set up for the floral fertilizer actually does, it does 9 at once, because I figured why mess around with just crafting 1 at a time, So we're doing 9 bone meal, 36 red dye to make 9 floral fertilizer. So, because we're going to start making use of that today, because like I had mentioned here in the next couple episodes, we're going to be pushing into just botania progression. And in order to do that, botania relies a lot on nature's aura, which means we're going to be using a lot of aura, which is fine. We've done fine so far with just manually handling that. Hasn't been a big deal. But when it comes to automating living rock, I don't want it to drain out my stuff, because then I result in getting breathless, my creatures dying. None of that's good. So we're going to be automating aura today and doing a little bit with nature's aura. Plus I got to move this, shift all this around a little bit. And we're going to be sticking, of course, with the herbivorous. And I also want to automate spirits of birthing and some little things like that. Let's go ahead and take our herbivorous, which now has a quest. I think it's I think it was added to this tab. Yeah, aura generation. It got a tab or a quest now. A few quests were added like that we're kind of picking up a little bit here and there. But let's go ahead and set up where our aura generation is going to go. Now, it is worth noting that when it comes to using floral fertilizer, if you are placing the blocks even slightly faster than what you're consuming, it can make your flowers into two-talls, which I did check. The two-tall flowers, for whatever reason, cannot be consumed by the herbivorous. So we're actually going to be putting a block over the top to prevent those from becoming the large versions. If you recall, we did something kind of similar on All the Mods 6, I think it was, for mystical flowers, because we were using the elemental craft to produce those, and they could make the two tall, and we wanted to stick with the one tall. So we're going to be doing something basically to that same effect. Now I'm going to want, let's see, this would be wall section for this, because it's not going to come up that high. The block would sit on top of it, so we're going to have basically a 5x5 for our flowers, which will be sufficient for us. And then we'll just have the herbivorous there in the middle. Technically, I could drop this or bring it up a block. Honestly, it wouldn't be bad to have it up here. No, it will be. Yeah, let's actually remove that. And let's actually break that block. And I'm going to clear out underneath this just a little bit here. So this is where our flowers are going to get made. So, and then we'll just, like I said, we'll just be using floral fertilizer. It's possible, you know, with the herbivorous, you want to alternate between like 5-6 different flowers to get maximum efficiency. It's possible using floral fertilizer. It is possible that we may not get full efficiency. In some cases, you know, it might do 2 grays, for example, and it might eat those back to back. Like here we had 2 greens. It's okay. It doesn't make a big difference unless you're just consistently using the same flower. And floral fertilizer, it should do the trick just fine for us. It's still going to alternate enough that we're going to be generating a lot of aura with this. And it's basically a free resource, just all coming from the sylph, more or less. The sylph and the drigme, because I'm breaking down the bone blocks to get the bone meal. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a deployer. This is going to be non-visible, just underneath the floor. Whoops. Underneath the floor down here. And this is actually going to be supplied with floral fertilizer, which we're going to be feeding in and having that auto create that. And then we're going to do, behind that, we'll do a clutch feeding in and then a rotation speed controller. So we'll be able to set the speed that we want this to run. And we're actually going to be using encased fans for our power. And this will all be just kind of behind the scenes, not visible back in there. And then right back in here, we're going to go ahead and just put in a little bit of sandstone to kind of block this off. And then we're going to do our encased fans here facing downwards. Go ahead and put that in. Let me go grab another bucket of lava real quick, because I don't need to plug this up. It's a long distance to our create setup. Not a super long distance, but it's a decent little distance there. And there's not much point in it. We're literally just going to be running one deployer in terms of create over here. So normally Botania, at least it used to allow dispensers to place this, but I've noticed that it can't be done through dispensers within this pack, which is fine, not really a big problem, because we can just use it. We can do it with deployers, you know. So then what we're going to do is put in some encased chain drives. Well, actually, I guess we'll go ahead and hit this with redstone first. So we'll go ahead, do that. Let me grab my redstone pan. And there we go. All 3 of those are going to start turning up. And then we can take and put in our encased chain drives right there. And I'm going to need another one of those. Actually, a few more, in fact. And let me go ahead and get some cogs also. we'll just go ahead and put that onto there. This comes down and out right here, and then we can just plug up our shaft. And then we just need to find basically a comfortable speed that this can handle. Yeah, see, 64 kicks it off, but I think 48, yeah, 48 it runs. Honestly, that, is that too fast? I feel like that's a little bit too fast. 32. We'll just have to play it by ear and see, see how well this handles eating the floral fertilizer as it comes in over here. I think 32 might be pretty comfortable. It might be slightly fast. It might be better suited for like 24 or something like that, but we'll see. And we're going to start off with 32. We can run that with 3 fans. We can make it a little bit faster if we need to, but I don't think that we'll need to make it faster, honestly. And then I'll have to shape this up just a little bit once I move these around to figure out. I'm thinking lime glass around it. Let's go ahead. Let's throw a block on top. And in this case, I'm going to be using periphery, I think, to cover it over. And I got this stuff. And while we're over here, I would like to get a creational catalyst, but I think it's a little bit costly for us. Yeah, because we don't have the terrestrial agglomeration plate, which does require that we push on with some astral sorcery. We'll get that later. Not a big deal for us. It's important if you're wanting to use a lot of the aura effects. We might use some of them, maybe. If it comes up, if we need maybe some kind of special ore or something like that. That's something I need to look into, if there's special ores from the ore system for it or something like that. We might use it, but basically, at least for us, if we don't plan on using any of that, it does give us a larger buffer of aura. But one thing I do want to get right now is an aura detector. Have I not automated Eye of Ender, really? I made a bunch in bulk a bit back, and I mean, down the road there's this recipe, but since we have a mob farm, it doesn't matter. And now it knows how to make Eyes of Ender. It's not something we use a ton of, but it does come up on occasion. It'd be good to have it automated. I've noticed the crafting terminal, it sends the items over really, really quick, you know, because they're just right over there and there's a lot of speed. But it seems like it takes it a little while to update. Oh, and I need to automate this. By the way, Cave Root is automated, by the way. Our Sylph does handle that. I don't know if I mentioned that. You guys probably saw it in the drawers, but Sylph can handle the Cave Root. I do need to set up an automated recipe for that as well, though. But we'll go ahead and get our aura detector. And on top of this, like I said, we're going to have a block that comes out. And this is just to prevent it from trying to make too tall flowers, because we don't have any use for too tall flowers. We don't want them coming in. So we're going to bring that out there. And then actually, instead of just doing solid glass, I'm thinking about doing trapdoors. So I'm going to wait till I move these, and then I'll set that up. Let's go ahead and get our aura detector. I do have a comparator as well already on me. And let's go ahead, and this can pretty much go anywhere. Basically just having it somewhere near the clutch is ideal. Let's go ahead and just run it out. Well, really, we don't need the clutch, do we? Because the deployer will shut off with redstone on its own. So yeah, we'll just have this come out. Ideally having it somewhere close to the middle. That's why I'm bringing it forward a block there. And then we'll put our comparator in. We'll put our aura detector in. That's going to power this off at the moment. We're going to be using an analog lever to control this. But out of curiosity, what is it? What's it reading the redstone as? 13. And then long term, our creational catalyst will just go right underneath this, and that'll be well situated. So, all right, let's go ahead, get ourselves an analog lever, and then we'll go ahead and just run this over, and let's say keep a value of 14 in there. Give it a little bit of leeway so we don't waste so much. Because 15, of course, is going to be the max on this. And then the last thing is just plugging this up. Now, technically, probably the easiest way to do it in this case is going to actually be to plug it into our XNet system that connects up to the Enigmatica system. I think that'll be optimal. So let's go ahead. I wasn't originally planning on using XNet for this, but it's right next to the XNet system. And we already have a stocking system in place for the Enigmatica stuff, so this would be ideal. Let's say floral fertilizer. And this is keeping 32 stock, that's fine. Let's throw floral fertilizer. Let's throw that into there. And this is the retrieve line it's extracting there. Let's go ahead, say that you can insert, it's going to be floral fertilizer. And you can go ahead and keep, you know, the full stack in there. Or let's say 40, that's fine. Just keep a bunch on hand anyways. So then if we come over and we take a look, yeah, you can see it's already making flowers for us, and it's got some floral fertilizer in there. And I'm sure it's ordered more at this point. But it's going to keep running that until it gets enough aura in this. The only thing is it going to detect it standing directly underneath the herbivorous? Technically, it should be producing aura. It should be able to hit 14. Actually, seems like it's not wanting to go above this point right now. So I'm going to give that floral fertilizer a minute to kind of get stockpiled, and then we'll come back to it. This is when I need the mechanism speed increases for our crafting, you know. Okay, so this is stocked up. Let's set it to 14 for a minute, see if it can hit that threshold. And we'll give it a second to run, and then we'll see. It may not go above that, I don't know, right now. Because normally, I mean, we can see it visually going up. Yeah, I don't know. We might just have to wait for the creational catalyst, because it doesn't seem like it's going up at the moment, so. Okay, well, that's fine. Let me go ahead. Let's see, do I want to do my birthing? Yeah, let's actually go ahead and do the birthing. So that's going to be glassed in. We're going to come out. I think I'm going to do vertical slabs, and then we'll come over. So let me go get some vertical slabs real quick. And it's crafting up some more, but let's go ahead. Also, we're going to get ourselves some child filters. We're about to do something very, very evil. I think it can be any gate. Let's go ahead and order 1, 2, 3 sets of those. And we're going to be doing something kind of similar to what we did on Spellbound. If you recall our mob filter system, we're going to be doing something kind of similar to that. In this case, we're going to have, let's see, there's going to be the slabs there, like this, and have it butted up against the glass there. And then let's go ahead and break out the floor here. And around this, it doesn't matter, you're not going to be able to see this, but we're just going to put some blocks in like that. And then let me go ahead and frame these in, because bear in mind, these can catch on fire, but if you have them framed, they can no longer catch on fire. So, and then let me go get my lava tank real quick. And we're going to put lava right down here. Like I said, we're going to do something really, really terrible. And then over that, we're going to put in our, yeah, we'll keep it here. I might change up the frames in that case. And change them over to glass. And then we can shift right click to change this if we want it to be like adult animals. But in this case, we just want, or adults just in general. But in this case, we only want it to be babies that pass through this. Into the lava. Because I want to control how many creatures we have in this area. Because I don't want to have more than 4. Just to keep our mob counts down, you know? So let me go get some glass real quick. And actually, let me go ahead and order 3 flux linkage amplifiers over here. Get those ordered, because I want to speed up our die crafter. Yeah, for some reason that terminal over there, it's taking a while for it to update. I might need to set up a new one and do some testing with that, but we're going to go ahead and throw that in there just to speed up die crafting. Because it's a little bit slow at the moment. Originally, I had considered doing the RGB honeycombs for our dye, but I think it's just, for our setup, I think it's a little bit better. I'll need to change the block around the base to the periphery, but that is fine. And by the way, as far as aura generation, we will be setting up something in the nether. Not the exact same system, because of course herbivorous doesn't work in the nether, but we will be setting something up, but it actually ties into another system that we're going to be setting up. It's basically going to be a whole episode probably related to that. It's a couple different systems in one, sort of. Now at this point, we can go ahead. I've got to do some corner blocks here. Probably just do pillar blocks, but let's go ahead at this point and let's take all of our little rabbits. And we're going to put these onto our filter. And I'm sorry in advance, because there's going to be terrible things that happen in here. And in real life, I absolutely love rabbits. I would never do this, but modded turns you into a monster. That's just how it goes. Now let's get ourselves a feeding trough. Either one would be fine. I think the quark one is a little bit cheaper, so we'll take that. And by the way, updating from the drawers is fine. It's just updating from the dimensional storage that's slow. So I've got to do a little bit of messing around with that and figure out what's going on there. Let me go ahead and order some carrots. And we need to make sure that this works and works in the way that I have in mind for it also. So if they'll ever stop jumping, what I'm thinking is we're going to have the feeding trough setting up here. And that way we don't have to worry about them, their babies ending up on top of this and not moving off. Will you... you won't see that. Okay. Well, out of curiosity, what if I did it... That doesn't work, by the way. I had some rabbits get away. But it's good to know. Well, I've got 2 rabbits over here. I had 2 escape. That's fine. I'll come across them at some point. In that case, I guess what we'll do, we'll put it in here. And then maybe they can't jump through connectors. I will be facading that, so let me see if they can jump through the connector. No. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead. Drop in a couple carrots there. See, 1 rabbit eats it all. But what should happen is a baby should get born. And you can see it makes Spirit of Birthing. And then, of course, the baby proceeds to fall down into the pit of doom and dies. Okay, well, Savian was bringing up the crafting recipes because we updated, you know. These have been changed. Which is kind of, you know, it's whatever. And it broke some automation. Actually, what we were going to be doing with the netherite that we set up last episode was actually making lodestones, but they removed the default, like the crafting recipe, and now it has to be done through channeling, which is fine. Honestly, technically, I guess this recipe is earlier game than netherite, and in a way, before bees, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's not a big deal. We'll automate it. That's the only reason we hadn't automated that one before, to make the lodestones. But let's try... I remember this feeding trough being buggy before. So we'll try the other feeding trough, which just takes the golden carrot. Yeah, it seems like... I've been keeping an eye on it, and it seems like whenever it sends stuff from the dimensional storage system, it seems like it's really slow about updating it into the crafting terminals. I don't know. I haven't noticed it doing that with the machines. But when it comes to like manually crafting stuff, because it would have already arrived, right? Like we take a look. It's not in there right now. You see it's not in the pipes. It would be coming from our dimensional storage for the golden carrots. But then if we come over here and we take a look. Yeah, it came in. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some messing around with that. And see if I can sort that out. So, it's like there's a variety of small issues with item pipes. I've always found workarounds. So they haven't really been like a big concern for us. But it can be a little bit problematic But like I said, I mean, we could go with refined storage. That's totally viable right now. It's just more fun to not do the same storage system. And it seems like it's always 82 or that one gets fed. And it is working. They are able to get it from the block below, it seems like. But the other one's not eating from it. Okay, there we go. There's spirits of birthing. That time we got 3. So that one does work. It doesn't seem like it works if you do it a block above, which is worth noting. But let me go ahead, and I want to see if they can get out of this one. This one might take up a larger space. It looks, visually, it looks like it does, but... Okay, yeah. They can't get out of that one. So as long as this one interfaces with item pipes, it'll actually be a better option anyways for us. And let's say that you can insert carrots into that. And then if we were to throw in, like, some carrots, they are getting sent up. They should be going in. I wanted to make sure they didn't need a right click. So like a deployer, you know? That's perfect. Okay. And this one does seem like it's behaving a bit better. They're not just chain eating off of the... off of that. They can't get out of it, which is great. And it interfaces fine with the item pipes and everything. So this should be perfect for us. And then we just need to set up collection and feeding the carrots over. And just so that we can see this kind of kick on and kick back off, I moved our natural altar. I've already linked it to the block location that this is going to be. But if we put this in and this starts gathering up aura, we should see this kick on in just a minute. And yeah, you can see flowers are starting to get placed. And then once this fills up and the aura stabilizes back out, we should see it kind of power back down at that point. So see right now it's generating more aura than, like, faster than this can drain. No problem. No problem whatsoever. So it's just kicking on occasion, making a little bit of aura, and then kicking back on whenever it needs to make a little bit more. And technically, I mean, we could do a larger space than a 5x5. We could do like a 7x7 or something. But 5x5, we maybe lose a couple flowers per fertilizer, but it's not really a big deal. This stuff's free. I'm not that worried about it, and it just fits into the size of our area a bit better. So we kind of have this nice area that kind of just flows through for our kind of our indoor Nature's Aura stuff. We're going to have a little bit of outdoor, of course, with the offering altar and with the ritual of the forest. And then we'll have our little bit of nether stuff. But all right, and that's filled back out, and this isn't running at the moment. So that's good. We'll make a couple small adjustments to this a little bit later. Once we can kind of increase that aura threshold, we might adjust some things, but for right now, this will be good for us. All right, so for the requesting, let's go ahead, or for the collection, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and break this open, and we're just going to go ahead and just bring a pipeline over, and we're just going to plug this into our XNet system. Because this is all stuff that's going to be running off of kind of the same request line. And then right here, we're going to do a connector. And then let's go ahead and just take a drawer, just a single drawer. And this will just basically just be part of the floor. Let me actually go ahead and throw that in. And let's turn it. So we'll have it right there. And then we'll just go ahead and lock that in. And we'll call this birth. And then just cover that over. And then right above that, all we're going to do is just put on a hopper hawk. Just so it can collect the stuff and drop it in there. Of course, it'll only be able to collect spirits of birthing, so I'll throw that down. It doesn't do anything. I'll throw down a couple of these, and it'll grab those. And it'll grab them from that little area in there. And then that'll be it for the collection. I think right here, we're gonna have a door that leads out, and that's gonna lead to our outdoor Nature's Aura stuff, is what I'm thinking. So we'll be getting into that fairly soon. But let's go ahead and configure the birthing. We're gonna be extracting, and this will basically just be sending over to here. So let's just go ahead and copy that, and we'll start feeding in those spirits of birthing. Now let me go ahead at this point I'm going to add this to a drawer because we're going to be keeping this stocked. So that drawer right there will be fine. And let me grab out the ones from the system here. I'll just go ahead and dump those in. And then we're going to set up, as far as requesting goes, because I don't want this to be something that we order and say, I want some Spirits of Birthing. It's not something that we use a ton of. But we will be using it on occasion for various different things, Runes of Spring being a prime example. So we're going to go ahead and tell this over here to keep carrots stocked. And of course those are already being sent up to here. But we're going to tell this that it's only going to be enabled on the like the dark red channel. You can only insert on dark red. So, and did it already send some up? No, it didn't. I got it put in there before that ran. And I think we're going to have a total of 4 rabbits in there, is what we're going to be using. And then let's go ahead and set up a Corporea Crystal Cube in my beautiful mess here. We'll do it right next to this one, I think. Do we want to do it with the redstone pen, or probably actually just do it right here? And it's going to be set up as per normal. Comparator comes out. I actually don't need the analog lever. And let's actually name this one since it's not named. We're going to call this Plastic Reed. We're going to call this Birth Reed. And then we'll just plug this up. Corporea Spark on top and our Spirits of Birthing. So we can see that we've got 3 in there. And we're going to say that in our XNet line, let's find our Birth Reed. And we're going to copy this. Let's go ahead and turn this off for just a moment. And we're going to change this to output color dark red. And so what we should have happen, I think I just heard a rabbit die. I'm sure it was one of the babies. But we should start having carrots come up here. And yeah, it sent 32 and 2 of them got eaten. And then basically just on cooldown. I mean, there are some other options that we could go with, like magical breeding and cutting down those, basically the breed times. But I'm not that worried about it because realistically, a little bit of Spirits of Birthing this is going to keep us 2 stacks stocked. And it's not something that we actually use a ton of. Honestly, 2 stacks is probably going to keep us filled for a while. And then there's our Spirits of Birthing. Let me go ahead and tell this that... actually, do we need it in a drawer? Because where we have that stuff coming in at, since it's through the pneumatic system, it might actually be better to just store it in here at the moment. Because this is still reading and saying, you know, I've got 5 Spirits of Birthing. So yeah, I think we'll do it in there. I think that'll be better for us. So... Alright, now let's go ahead, I'm going to go capture, let's see, do I have any more glass bottles with rabbits in them? If not, I'll need to go capture them or try to find the ones that escaped me. Now, there's one of them, and then I've just got to find the other one, or get another rabbit. Okay, these have been running away, and just breeding and making... making us Spirits of Birthing, more or less. If we take a look, we have 39 Spirits of Birthing at the moment. So it's going to keep running until we hit 2 stacks, and it'll stop. Alright, so that's that. Now, let's see. I think we got time this episode to go ahead and set up our Powah automation. Because I would like to go ahead and get that in place and at least start to kind of upgrade these. We'll actually be here pretty soon pushing on through these tiers because they're actually fairly cheap tier to tier to do. And I gotta move that. But right now we have 7 energizing rods. One of them, of course, being a hardened one. The hardened is 135. Let's see. I know it jumps. I was looking at it, and I know it jumps like drastically. That one's 450, which we can pull that off once we get up to blaze fiber, which we need to set that up. So here pretty soon, and then we can do the Electric, which would be 2.1k, and at that point we'd really have to upgrade basically our conduits more than anything. And then Spirited, I think, is in our wheelhouse too, because that's just Osiris and uranium. Basically automate god shards. And then Niotic is easy to push on to. Because by then we would already have this. It would just be these 3 things. I need to automate nether stars and do the weak blood shards. But beyond that, I mean, it's basically just high voltage coils and quartz enriched iron, and then tier them up. So we'll push on into blaze fibers and automating god shards here pretty soon, and pretty easy. So let's go ahead. Alright, so what we're going to do, originally I had considered doing this with modular routers, but I think we're going to go with XNet for this. But we are going to be doing some modular router setups here pretty soon. I'm only going to run the minimum amount of cables that we need today, because probably we'll be upgrading these cables before too long, and pushing on into better cables. Also, I'm running these cables through the floor right now, and this will probably become a disentangled block a little bit later on, but for now that'll be good. Let's go ahead and tap on a connector. I'll probably wait to place these down until we upgrade them, because we're going to be going straight into the hardened rods, so there's not a whole lot of point in setting all of these up until we get that, I think. So we're going to put our controller in here. Normally I don't put these into the floor, but I think it works best here. I'm actually going to scoot it back by 1 just to give a little bit more space, because yeah, I'll tell you what, actually we're going to raise it by 1. We're going to have the connector there instead. Then what we're going to do, I think we'll probably do all this through 1 orb. Yeah, we'll just do all the recipes through 1 orb. That'll be fine. And then what we're going to do is in our controller here, we're going to set up an XNet logic line. And as we progress, we'll be using a few logic lines, basically culminating in 4 logic lines. And what do we need in terms of items? What do we have here? 4 item lines, and then it might be like 5 connectors in total. So I might do it through disentangled. Once, today we'll just have 1 set up, but for the later ones, we'll probably have a disentangled for the other connectors. That way we just have the orb setting here, and there's not all the cables visible. So I think that'll be good. And then we're going to make a XNet item line. And let me go ahead and order a diamond chest, because we're going to use diamond chest for input for the recipes. So we'll plan on the diamond chest setting, and we'll just run the pipes back. I need to get down here and actually clear all this out and put a floor down. I might plan on doing that. Like over the weekend or something. Won't take that long, realistically. Okay, so we're going to run that out, and then our cable line's going to run to here, connector there. And then we'll just put the diamond chest in here. Honestly, I might just use this for the storage part too, because the stuff's going to be filtered. It's not going to matter. So yeah, we're going to say this is Powah in, and this one will be Powah out plus supplement. Okay, so then what we're going to do, I've got the items here. Now technically you can do a block of the energized steel at once. I'm not going to be doing it that way, because it does take a little bit more power, which means generally it takes a little bit more time, at least until we get to a lot of energizing orbs and high tiers. It would take a little bit more time. Later on, it'd be instant regardless. But it does take a little bit more power overall, compared to just making 9 sets of the ingots, because it does make 2 at a time, Not to mention it's just more crafting for us, because we would have to break down, or we'd have to scale this stuff up and then break it down. So for us, it's going to be a little bit better to do it this way. Now, I think that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. And then the ender pearl. Perfect. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab these items here. And we're going to, this first line here, we're going to make a channel here. I'm sorry, not a channel here. We will make a channel there, though. But we're going to make a channel here. And we're going to say that you're enabled on color white. And you can insert blazing rod, ender pearl, frost steel, charged snowball. Max amount in destination inventory is 1. And then for the extraction from the Powah inline, which is this one, we're going to say that you can extract single 20 ticks per operation. And I guess technically, let me check something here. For my lock items, am I only going to need 1 of them? Because if so, that makes it substantially easier. Yeah, there is all the recipes in here. Whatever item we're going to be using to lock it, which would be, you know, any of these, just one item from a recipe to lock it that's unique to that recipe. None of them are duplicated. We can do it all with a single item. So technically I could do this just on enable on color black. Max amount in destination inventory is 1, because the way XNet does this is, for example, if I threw in that, and that, you're going to notice that it only pulls out 1 of those items, because it knows that it can only keep 1 of any of these items in here. I actually don't want you to craft right now. Hold on a second. But it can only keep 1 of those items in here. So that actually makes it substantially easier, and does in fact cut down on the amount of redstone that we need and the amount of connectors that we'll need substantially, because our single item crafts, like the blaze rods and the charged snowballs, these are done at this point. Which is good, because I'm actually going to need some slots for recipes here. So all I got to do for these is set up that recipe and set up that recipe. And then I can just throw these in there, and it's going to pull them out one at a time and drop them in here. Yeah, so that's going to simplify things a lot in that case. And so in that case, we're going to drop the extraction down to 10 ticks, because we don't even have to worry about redstone for this part. It just extracts these items. It can only keep 1 in there, and we're set. So, okay, so that makes it substantially easier then. Now let's go ahead, just to get it out of the way, let's go ahead and set up the remaining recipes for this. So we're going to have a recipe for the frost steel to make the energized steel, and then a recipe for the ender pearl to make the infused ender pearl. And then, of course, crafting all this stuff, it'll get sped up as we increase those orbs, but if we get the recipes in today, that's going to be great. Just makes our lives a whole lot easier. Okay, so that part's done. Then all we have to do is these additional things, like frost steel takes the electrum, ender pearl takes the other stuff. This is where we have to do a little bit more logistical stuff with our redstone. So what we're going to do is we're going to be filtering everything on the insert. So let's go ahead and just make a few items here. This is where, you know, we'll have multiple connectors, so we can have additional lines, because we're going to be using additional logic lines too, just to make this really, really nice and clean. So for the energizing orb, I want you to look at, let's make a logic line here, and this will be a sensor. Number of ticks is going to be 10, and it's going to check first and foremost to see if there's frost steel. And we're going to be setting this up to check items. We're going to be doing 2 today. We're going to check and see if there's frost steel. We're also going to check and see if there is ender pearls. These are our lock items. And if there is frost steel, we'll be emitting on color white. If there is ender pearls, we'll be emitting on color red. So if there is greater than 0, you're going to emit these colors. And then we're going to go ahead and set up on our item line here for the insert. We're going to say that you can insert on color white. You can insert on color red. And then let me go ahead and get our crystallized chorus. I got to run the liquid over and start feeding that in, but so I'll do that. But there we go. Go ahead and make us a block. Basically, I just need to start sending the liquid over. I'll be doing it with XNet for this. It hasn't really been a big rush, because it's not like I'm going to be making a lot of mana pearls right now, because they're so much not expensive, because our power's automated, and I mean this stuff is actually extremely cheap, but they're very time consuming. So we're going to say electrum ingots, max amount is 1. And then we're going to say crystallized chorus, dimensional shard. Because if I set this to max amount 1, of course, it's going to only send one of them. Yeah, I think I know what I'm going to want to do for this. Yeah, so we'll have to kind of work around that just a little bit. So that is a little bit problematic. I always forget XNet does that way. It's a little weird, but it's okay. As long as we can filter on this, doesn't matter. Because we'll basically have to use a little bit more logistics lines, but it's kind of a trade-off for having saved here. So in a way it works for us, and in a way it's a little bit annoying. But so we're checking to see about the frost steel and the ender pearl. Now I also want to check on item greater than 0 output on lime, and it's going to be the crystallized chorus. Then let's go ahead and make another, and this is why we're going to use multiple connections or multiple connectors for this, is because we're going to be basically telling it to check things quite a bit. And on this one we're going to add the blocks of dimensional shards. Once we set up the extractions there, it's going to send it over and it's going to make the energized steel for us. So then what we're going to do is we're going to set up an extraction line, and really, since we can check multiples here, honestly it might be better to do 6 item lines and 2 logic lines actually for this. So we'll go ahead and make XNet item line, and we're going to say that you can extract from the energizing orb. Let's go ahead and disable processing for a minute on this. And we're going to say you can extract, for this it doesn't matter, we're going to say stack 10 because it's going to be filtered. And we're going to say you're extracting the energized steel. And then we're going to say that you can insert it over there. And we'll be able to use this as storage. Basically. Not connector power in, I want it on power out. Though it is a little bit strange, it actually may not pull it out because it's not seeing that as an output. We'll have to see here in a second. But that should be good. Now if I was to order some energized steel at this point, let's go ahead and order, we're going to want a bit of this, so let's go ahead and order 20 of this. It's going to have to craft up a little bit of electrum. We're actually going to be getting into our alloy bees before long. But if we take a look, you can see frost steel has went in. But we can see it is working. Like once this finishes up, it pulls out, goes over to there, and then it should immediately get sent over. Let me actually order a speed. We will have to plug up a sort of a dummy item pipe though, because it's not pulling that out at the moment. And we're just going to have a dummy pipe that connects to that, so that way it can pull out the hardened or the energized steel. I think that's the route we want to take for it. And we'll go ahead and get the speed upgrade as well. Well, the only thing though that worries me about that, I'm actually just going to get a gold chest. The only thing that worries me about that is if I did that and then I crafted something, it might pull from this chest, like maybe ender pearls or something really obscure like that. So I think I do actually want to move the output for this to a different line here. And then we'll have a connector here, and that means I actually save a channel anyways. And we actually don't need the power out supplement line. I think this will be better. Plus, I have a lot of space where I need recipes, and so this will be better. And then it can just store the items. And something that I found out, which this is why I like doing pretty pipes and taking this to endgame, because I've learned a lot of things about pretty pipes and a lot of things about automating, but something I've learned over time is you're actually better to not use extract upgrades on your extraction lines, because then what happens is it has to extract it, it has to send it to storage, then it has to pull it for whatever it's requesting. But if we send it just straight into a chest or something like that, to where just an empty non-extract item pipe can remove it, then it sees the recipe is finished and sends it to its its final destination. So it actually just kind of speeds things up as far as sending things around on the system. So for this, it might be good too to add a filter, so that way it doesn't try to store things into that, because we don't want it storing things in. We just wanted basically a space to store these things in. And then we'll say that you can insert into this chest on the channel 5, which is just going to be our universal extraction line over here. Let me go see. Grab this filter here. No telling what's actually in this right now. But we're going to go ahead and put that in mage robes. Oh, that was because it was a tag for armor. But we're going to say... Actually, I should probably upgrade this. I don't need a low one's going to be too small. I think a medium one would be perfect. Or actually, I've got some high ones. Let me just order those. Okay, and then over to the next recipe, which will be this one. Actually, I'm going to wait until I get my new rods made. But we can go ahead and do the charged snowball real quick. So we throw that into there, and it's going to get that crafting. That one's only 500,000. So let me add energized steel into this filter. We're going to say this is what's allowed into it. Now, as for upgrading our rods, this is definitely something that we're going to want to automate. So moving into the hardened ones, all of this stuff is automatable. Let me go ahead and just send that in. I don't need that. And we'll just request what we can of this, which will be these two things. So we'll give a recipe here for the hardened capacitors. And it actually takes 4 dielectric. I'm just going to order one. Or order a few. So let me just order... These craft 2 at a time. They do. So let me just order 10. Oh, that wasn't quite done. I pulled it out. Wasn't even paying attention to what percent it was on. Man, it's so slow with just one of these. So slow. That's okay. We're gonna be scaling out here. So there's how you make that. And we'll just go ahead and get that going. So I'll go ahead and order a little bit more of that. But we can go ahead and get ourselves another hardened rod. This will speed this up a little bit for our crafting. But then as far as recipes go, at this point we just need to expand as we need to. I'm going to go ahead and turn this into an item line. But then, you know, once we run out of lines here, we just add another connector and that gives us 6 more lines. And then 6 more lines, and it gives us more logic lines too. I think 2 to 6 should be the best ratio on this. I really need to filter on this insert and not on the extraction. Filtering on insert is always better than filtering on extraction. For most things anyways. So this is done. Let's go ahead and grab our charged snowball. And what we're going to have to do is go in, add it to this filter. And then we need to go in and add it to this filter. And actually, before I order anything else, I've got 3 more rods to make. So let's go ahead and just order 3 more batches of that real quick. And we'll go ahead and slot these in. Because it is going to be ordering some energized steel. It's got to craft some electrum. We're going to be moving into alloy bees here pretty soon. And as soon as we do, then making all these alloys, that's going to cut down a lot on our time. We're getting to the point where I think it's about time to move into them. You know, like I said, I was postponing it until we'd actually gotten to make all the alloys and make them a few times. But now we're getting to where, I mean, I could keep the stuff stocked and that would be fine. But we're actually using a lot of alloys. So, at this point. So, but this actually crafts up pretty quickly. And we're going to be adding 3 more rods here in just a moment. So, and right now it's done crafting the energized steel. So I'm going to go ahead, start running a blaze rod, and then we're going to make an ender pearl. And hopefully that ender pearl will be decently faster. Like I said, we're going to push on to the next rod here soon. I've just got to set a blazing blood is really it. And then honestly at that point, I really should have done that by now, but we just haven't needed it. But I do want to upgrade our armor. But once again, we just don't need it. Blaze honeycombs. I'm producing them, but I'm not saving them. So I probably will want to start saving blaze honeycombs in preparation for that. Yeah, this is actually draining our power at the moment. Are all of these running? Like, yep, I'm going to make some more numismatics between episodes. I can't remember if I've got that automated or not. If not, I'll automate it. But they're cheap enough to craft for us at this point. So I do think it's going to be time to expand on the numismatics, because we're starting to pour a lot of power into this. Because this takes 10 million. Oh, wow. It's still going to be very, very slow crafting. And then the ender pearls too. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to address power soon. I mean, our power is fine for most things, but Powah makes our power not good for a lot of things. I need to expand on numismatics, and we need to push on into better cables, basically. But yeah, so I'm gonna let this run for a bit. We know that the ender pearl is gonna be slow because the blaze rod is slow. We definitely have to upgrade some power cables. I hadn't noticed that before because the ender pearl, we only had a couple of the energizing rods running, so it wasn't as noticeable as when I have 7 of them running. I probably shouldn't run it this hard right now because I have a lot of other things that rely on power, but I don't want to be running negative to craft things, basically, because that's not a good idea since all of my powers ran through that line at present anyways. I'll craft the blazing rod just to get it into the filters. That's the only reason I'm crafting it. It's for later. It's not for today. It's not for next episode. We'll have power upgraded before we do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and craft the ender pearl once again just to add to the filter. We're not going to need it right this second, but then we'll deal with that soon enough. We'll be addressing our power, basically pushing into a little bit of basic mechanism, doing stuff with our numismatics. Plus, we might move into our other power gen before then too. So, but anyways, I know it's wrapping up point for this episode. So we got our indoor overworld Nature's Aura stuff done and all of our Powah stuff done, which is good. We'll be automating the outdoor Nature's Aura stuff here pretty soon too, which is just the offering altar and the ritual forest is all. So we'll be getting that stuff. And then, like I said, we'll be doing the nether part of our Nature's Aura stuff, but it's going to be tying into another system. So we're going to set up that system, and then we'll quickly set up the nether Nature's Aura stuff. It's not going to take very long because basically it just relies on our other system that we're going to be setting up. So, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.